Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's broadcast for the new moon in Sidereal Capricorn guided intention setting. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully we have everything set up and working just fine this evening. So far so good. It looks okay. Looks like we have audio. That's good. That's been a hiccup lately. It looks like, I'm going to double check, we are live streaming on YouTube, and I did set this up on YouTube as a public broadcast for anyone who wants to join us there, although that will be going away, at least for the live portion of the broadcast, very, very soon. Let me double check the status of things at Patreon. That's the whole point of this little experiment, is to see if we can make it all work at Patreon. It looks good. Hold on just one moment. I am going to share this to the Sidereal Insights group. And let's go. Let me pause my music, which I have not done, and silence this this phone, so that we don't have to be disturbed. All right. Oh, wait. Do not disturb. That's the one I want right there. Not just the silence. Hello, everyone. This is exciting. It looks like things are working correctly. And boy, would that not be a refreshing change of pace. I'm going to kind of bounce between the Patreon tab and the YouTube tab, just in case we have viewers watching from either, and bounce between all of those and Facebook to see if we have any comments live from Facebook. Bear with me while I interrupt the signal by clicking on browser things here. All right. Looks good. This is exciting. So welcome, the new moon in Sidereal Capricorn, which is one of my favorites because I have Capricorn sun, and this is kind of an intense new moon in Capricorn, in part because we have so many planets there sidereally. It's pretty crazy. We're going to talk a bit about that today as we go. I'll give you some pointers. I have some fresh new things to think about for this new moon. And I'm really kind of excited to dive in and share it all with you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So let me scroll back up to the top of my notes and we'll dive right in. So with the broadcasts, really my aim with these is to offer you guidance on how you can consciously use the energy of the transiting planets to affect your life in a positive way. And with the new moon, that means setting intentions in alignment with not only the astrological energy of the given new moon that we're under, but also potentially in alignment with your own natal blueprint. And so tonight, of course, we are looking at the new moon in Sidereal Capricorn through the Fagan-Bradley zodiac lens. So for those of you who might be new to the broadcast, I'm Phaedra. I'm the artist and astrologer of Mystick Physick astrology, and I use Western Sidereal astrology in my practice. Specifically, I use the Fagan-Bradley zodiac, and what I like to do with my practice is help you reconnect with your soul purpose and remember why it is you came into this life to begin with. And so if you need your sidereal natal chart, you can use the free online calculator at mystickphysick.com/sidereal tools to look up your sidereal chart at no charge to you. But that is the chart you're going to want to be working with this evening. And tonight what we're going to do is explore Capricorn themes, specifically themes around ambition, achievement, accolades. We're going to delve a little bit into why self-discipline and perseverance are critical for success. And we're going to set intentions for tapping into the new moon in Capricorn so that you can establish a rock solid foundation for success for 2021. And we have a lot to talk about this evening. In the first part of the broadcast, what we'll do is talk about this particular new moon and the astrology of it. So we'll delve into the specifics. In part 2 of the broadcast, what we're going to do is talk about the houses and which house this new moon is falling into for each of you according to your sidereal rising sign, and I'll touch on briefly what the themes of each of those houses are in case you need that information, especially if you don't have that sort of thing memorized, or if you're fairly kind of new to astrology, or if it's more of a hobby and the houses aren't really your jam. We'll get into that. And then in the third part of the broadcast, what we're going to do is explore more deeply the Capricorn archetype specifically and the themes of Capricorn. And then I have some points to consider as we delve into the intention setting prompts that we're going to be working with this evening. And I'm really very excited to get into all of this with you. Let me just really quickly pull up my YouTube live stream. Everything looks good there. I'm not quite sure. I'm still figuring this out with Patreon, which is kind of the point of doing a soft launch during Mercury retrograde to iron out the technological kinks. I'm not quite sure where or how to access live comments through Patreon. And so for now, what I'm going to do is going to keep myself defaulted here to the YouTube live stream, and we will work with that for now. Okay. Yes, I have accidentally clicked on something on Patreon, so I'm just going to get rid of it and we'll just dive right in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is exciting. So let's talk about the new moon in Capricorn. But what we need to do is preface our conversation around the new moon in Capricorn with Mercury's retrograde. So this new moon in Capricorn is actually taking place on February 11th. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. That was kind of the point with setting up the Patreon feed, was so that Patreon subscribers would have early access to the new and full moon broadcasts and the sidereal insights, astro update that we do every 2 weeks. This full moon is taking place at 28 degrees, 14-ish, 15-ish minutes of Capricorn. At 7:05 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. It will be exact 7:05 p.m. UTC. That's a little bit after 2 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time on February 11th. So just kind of a point of note, I have transitioned all of my note keeping and all of the planner design to calculate from UTC beginning this year and going forward. So as we talk about dates and times going forward, especially on the broadcast, keep in mind, partly I'm doing that so it'll match the planner as you've ordered a planner. Partly I'm doing that so that it will be a little bit easier to mentally calculate what that means for you in your time zone, because we have viewers watching from all around the world, and all you'll need to know is your UTC offset, and you'll be able to go from there. Now, there is one exception on the Ultimate Astrological Planners as far as what time zone they are created with, and that has to do with the brand new Lahiri planner, which is constructed specifically oriented from an Indian/Vedic perspective. So the Lahiri planner, of course, uses the Lahiri Ayanamsha, and it also includes the Indian holidays, not the European or United States holidays. It also includes calculations and aspects exact as of Indian time zone. So keep that in mind. That's the one exception to that. And so before we dive into the specifics on this new moon, I want to start our conversation from the perspective of Mercury retrograde. So Mercury stationed retrograde on the 30th of January. We're a little more than a week into his retrograde. He stationed retrograde in sidereal Aquarius and has now backtracked back into Capricorn, where he spent most of the month of January. And so Mercury will station direct on the 21st of February. He'll move back into Aquarius on March 12th. So where we're sitting right now is with Mercury on kind of an extended tour through Capricorn, where he's already been through Capricorn once already, beginning on January 5th through, I believe, the 26th. On the 3rd, he moved back into Capricorn from Aquarius. And so the remainder of the retrograde, he will be backtracking over all of the same degrees that he's been over once in Capricorn. He'll station direct, like I said, on the 21st, and as he slowly gets back up to speed, he'll be driving back over all of those same degrees. So much of what you may have been working on or have been expending mental energy on during the month of January, you may be revisiting and reworking during the month of February because we're dealing with Mercury's retrograde. And this is an opportunity to review and to rework any Mercury-related activities that you have been dealing with during those last 3.5 weeks or so of January. So this is a time specifically to be making tweaks and adjustments or course corrections. And with this being a new moon, typically we wouldn't encourage you to make new initiations or start brand new projects or be doing Mercury-related activities during a new moon or Mercury's retrograde. But this is an opportunity to restart something that you may have already been working on, coals that you may have already had in the fire. You can breathe new life onto that fire and reignite it. But what we want to do is take a step back and kind of reorient ourselves, take a closer look at what we've been doing all this time and re-examine what's been working, what hasn't been working, and make adjustments before we do that. This is an opportunity to correct course. It's also, because we have Mercury retrograde, an opportunity to reconcile with those with whom we may have had a falling out, especially if we had that falling out when Mercury, sometime after Mercury first entered Capricorn, January 5th. Or if you're not concerned with reconciliation, you can use this transit instead to just kind of clear the air. Like maybe you don't want to, kiss and make up or whatever, to use an expression, but maybe you do want to iron things out and clear the air so that even if you are going your separate ways, you're going your separate ways amicably, or at least understanding each other, right? So there's a couple ways you can leverage the Mercury retrograde energy. These are ways that you might consider doing that right now. And then a few other points on Mercury retrograde before we dive into the Capricorn new moon. I want to call out that this retrograde is going to take Mercury back into conjunction with Jupiter on February 14th, just in time for Valentine's Day. And then as he returns to direct motion, he'll conjoin with Jupiter the third time on March the 5th. And so these are dates that you may want to note in your calendar, either to take advantage of or to watch out for events or things that might come up for you. Okay. So now let's talk about the new moon in Capricorn. And I had a note on my chart that I scribbled down that I don't know if I put in my notes. I do all of my notes. I scribble on the paper and muck it all up, and then I have to try and transcribe all of that to a text document for going over the notes. So to start with, the moon's in detriment here. Okay, so this is one thing to be aware of. This is, I think, kind of an intense new moon, kind of a challenging new moon. We have some squares going on in the chart that could be kind of frustrating in many, many different ways. There's 7 planets in Capricorn now with the moon's arrival, and the new moon there is going to activate all of them. Okay, that's an interesting thing about planets as they transit a sign. Just because they're in a sign, you don't necessarily have the ability to tap into that planetary energy unless the new moon is taking place in that sign while the planets are there. Okay, sometimes the energy of the planet is locked away in such a way that it's inaccessible to us. That is not going to be the case this time around. And this is going to profoundly impact folks who have Capricorn Sun or Capricorn Rising. Okay. So what you'll want to do is look to the houses in your sidereal natal chart that are ruled by each of the other planets currently in Capricorn during the new moon for insight into other areas of your life where this new moon will be influential. Okay, so this means the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. These are all of the planets currently in Capricorn. And what I want to call out is that actions that you may take to initiate or reinitiate or restart, relaunch projects at this time will have major short and long-term consequences throughout your chart, including all the matters that are ruled by these 7 planets and the houses ruled by their respective signs. So be looking to your chart and noting the houses ruled by Cancer, Leo, Gemini, Virgo, Taurus, Libra, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Scorpio, and even Pisces through its traditional rulership, Jupiter. That's a huge impact. So you can see easily enough that folks with Capricorn Sun or Capricorn Rising will be profoundly affected by this new moon, but it's also going to have a major impact for anyone who has a personal planet or point in their chart at or near 28 degrees of a cardinal sign. Okay? So keep that in mind. That may be you. Or I would say it could profoundly affect you even if you have Saturn as your chart ruler. And chart rulers are typically determined using kind of a weighted scoring system based on planets and signs, based on aspects to and from planets, based on rising sign. If you don't know your chart ruler by default, you can use the ruler of your rising sign. However, what I would encourage you to do is visit astro.com, which is an amazing website for creating charts. Use the extended chart tool. Dig into the Pollen Astrolog options under the extended chart selection, and you'll have the ability to generate a report that will, using Pollen's weighted scoring system, tell you which planet is your chart ruler based on which planet has the greatest influence. Okay? And so I would encourage you to do that. If not, if you don't have that information in front of you or don't want to take the time right now tonight, you can default to the ruler of your rising sign. But if the ruler of your rising sign is Saturn, just know that this could be significant for you as well, because that would make Capricorn your rising sign, right? So this is 10 houses that are going to be profoundly affected by the events and outcomes related to this new moon. 10 houses. So you can see that's hugely influential as a new moon, especially so as I was saying, for folks with Capricorn Sun or Rising, or who may have lots of Capricorn energy going on in their chart, or, as I said, folks with a personal planet or point at or near 28 degrees of a cardinal sign. Now, speaking of this new moon in particular, this chart kind of screams breaking with tradition, breaking away from the past. And so we were talking about, taking a new tack. That's really kind of what it's about. It could potentially include the breaking of commitments, a change to daily life or routine, or a sudden shift or increase in your workload. It speaks to challenging and difficult energies to deal with, choices to make, actions to take. But if you can face those challenges, if you can move through those difficulties, it will lead to a payoff in the end, even though it may be difficult and uncomfortable now. There is a payoff for you in it. It's worth facing that head on. Okay, this is about starting over anew towards your ambitions, but the caveat is only do that once you've reconsidered whether you're really headed in the right direction. Okay, so this is stop overthinking things. Hi, Danny. It's good to see you. I'm glad you can hear me and see me just fine right off the bat this time. Stop overthinking. Follow your heart. Follow your gut. Follow your instincts. Okay? That is your most primal guidance. And when we let the monkey mind work over things too much, sometimes that hamstrings us. Sometimes that is shooting ourselves in the foot. That's literally what it means to have a planet in detriment. It means the way the energy of that planet expresses, either by transit or in your natal chart, often works to your detriment. And because we know this, we can pre-imagine, we can foresee, if you will, well, what is detrimental about that. And with that warning flag in our vision, we can proceed with caution. And when we have the moon in detriment, it can sometimes mean that overthinking and overanalyzing is just going to trip us up. You've heard of analysis paralysis, right? Or paralysis by analysis. It's when you try to think things through so much that you don't know which decision to take or what direction to go. Moon in Capricorn can also tend to be a little inconsiderate of feelings. And I mean that in a couple of ways. I mean that we don't take into consideration how our words or actions might have an impact on the emotional experiences or feelings of others. So that's one way, right? Because that can hurt us in the end when we inadvertently hurt other people because we haven't really been considerate of people's emotional responses. But it can also mean that we tend to put our own emotional needs, experiences on the back burner. And that's not necessarily healthy either, right? So just be aware that there could be a tendency towards this, and try to steer yourself away from these pitfalls when you see that you're becoming caught up in them. And that's why I would encourage you, as you're taking a step back, as you're re-examining things and taking a closer look at what's been working for you and what maybe hasn't been working for you, as you are moving in pursuit of your ambitions and your goals, learn instead to follow your heart. That's an emotional thing, right? Tap into it. Don't deny it or suppress it or shove it down or put it on the back burner. And learn to follow your gut, follow your instincts. Okay? That is the basis of that. First of all, if we're going to talk about the scientific basis of that, you have more neural connections in your gut than you do in your brain. It is a bigger and more powerful primal brain than your monkey mind. And you should not be dismissive of its wisdom. The other point I would like to make in defense of the primal brain, the gut brain, is that your gut instincts are an extension of your mind's ability, your entire body's ability to tap into heuristic decision making. And heuristics, we evolved to have the ability to do this as a survival mechanism. It keeps us alive. It works most of the time in our best interest. Now, yes, there are some times when heuristic decision making can tap too much into things like stereotypes and work against us. But for the most part, in pursuit of your dreams, in pursuit of your goals, in pursuit of your desires, in pursuit of your ambitions, you are far better off trusting your gut than you are overthinking and overanalyzing. Yes, you want to be cognizant of things like return on investment and what are you getting out of something for what you're putting into it. But at the same time, you don't want to let that lead you into a place of paralysis, and you don't want to let that lead you down rabbit holes. And you don't want to overthink things so much that you trip over yourself in pursuit of what you want, right? So, Follow your heart, follow your instincts, stop overthinking things, stop putting your own emotional needs on the back burner, and stop trivializing the emotional responses of other people. These things are gifts to us as the human animal for a reason. Okay. Now, this new moon, and I note here, this is what I wrote on the chart, but I didn't put in my notes. And it kind of speaks to this. It says, you've been doing the sensible thing, but are you happy? Right? Capricorn being ruled by Saturn is often really sensible. And most of the time, that's a good thing. But when the moon is there, we can be sensible to the point where we're no longer satisfied or fulfilled or find meaning in what we're doing because we're just being driven by our responsibilities and our commitments. And that doesn't necessarily benefit you in the long run. Okay, so it's about balance. Be seeking that balance. This new moon begs the question, quite literally, and how's that working out for you? Because as a new moon with Mercury retrograde, it's about all of the things we've been doing up until this point and whether or not they're moving us in the direction of what we want, and whether or not what we want or what we think we want is really in our best interests, right? Because there are so many planets moving through Capricorn, this has triggered a lot of conjunction activity. And these conjunctions are bringing about the ending and the beginning of cycles. And so this new moon is going to begin a new cycle in regards to love, in regards to money, in regards to partnership, in regards to business. And these are, in some cases, short-term cycles that might last, say 30 days. In some cases, they're longer-term cycles. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. It augurs in an opportunity to grow your wealth and your relationships if you're willing to break with tradition, if you're willing to make a break with your past. This is about moving away from the same old, because it's probably not serving you any longer. And we're going to get into some questions to examine that a little more deeply as we get into the releasing part of the program. Okay, so stay tuned for that. This new moon can also potentially highlight or spotlight a change in status or a change in ambitions. Okay. It's about really examining whether or not you're moving in the right direction. Okay. So before we move on to part 2, where we get into the houses and rising signs for each of you, I do want to invite you to sign up at, I think I put the link in the video description, at mystickphysick.com. You can now order your 2021 Ultimate Astrological Planner, and I want to thank one of our viewers for reaching out to me earlier today, letting me know they were having trouble actually making a purchase because of the launch of the Patreon feed now and all the bonus goodies that you get for supporting the broadcast on Patreon. I was integrating Patreon with the website so that some of those freebies you could access again through the website, and that kind of put a hitch in the process for folks who might have been wanting to order a 2021 Ultimate Astrological Planner. That has been temporarily fixed. It's not permanently fixed, but it's temporarily fixed. So if you're wanting to order one, you can go ahead now. And I extended the sale through, I think, noon-ish tomorrow. So if you want to go ahead and place your order within, I don't know, the next... I don't think we even have 12 hours left of this sale. You can go to mystickphysick.com/2021 to check out all the new styles of planner that are available and place your order. Or if you want to try it out for free first, you can sign up for the mailing list. I put a link for that in the video description as well. That mailing list will give you the option to download a free February Ultimate Astrological Planner printable, like a calendar page, so that you can see. But what's cool about it is that I have color-coded all the best days of the year for love, for luck, for business, and I've color-coded Mercury retrograde and the Mercury retrograde shadow period, so those will not sneak up on you. It's a great resource for those of you who want to work with astrology in your daily planning life, and it's useful if you're a hobbyist and you really don't know a lot about astrology, it's useful at a glance. If you're a professional, or if you are a little more involved in your use of astrology in your daily life, it's going to give you some great benefits as well. So please check that out. And we will right now move on to talking about which house this is falling into for each of you according to your sidereal rising sign, this new moon in Capricorn, starting with Aries. And if you have Aries rising, this will be a 10th house new moon for you, of course, because we're following the natural zodiac if you have Aries rising. And the 10th house has to do with, of course, career, awards, recognition, achievement, status and reputation, your public life, all of the things that we typically associate with Capricorn. Okay. For Taurus, this will be a 10th house new moon for you. So that, of course, relates to higher education, international and long distance travel. I would say anything more than 500 miles away from where you were born could count as long distance travel in this day and age. It also relates to long distance communication. So things like publishing and broadcasting, anything where you're speaking to a large audience or over a long distance. It also relates to foreigners, religion, philosophy, law, those sorts of things. Gemini rising, this will be an 8th house new moon for you, which of course relates to other people's resources which are at your disposal, including the resources of a partner if you have a partner, if you're in a relationship. It could be the resources of a business partner if you're not in a long-term committed relationship. Has to do with investment earnings, insurance payouts, also insurance premiums that you might need to pay, taxes, both taxes that you owe and taxes that are due to be refunded to you. The 8th house also relates to inheritances, wills, estates, bonus and commission income if you earn money that way. And then some non-financial themes. The 8th house also relates to themes of the occult and the taboo, death, rebirth, transformation. It has to do with psychology and healing, investigation and research, things like that. For Cancer, this is a 7th house new moon for you. So partnership, marriage, business, relationships with other people in general. The 7th house speaks to what we tend to reject about ourselves and project onto other people. And that is, of course, quite specifically when we're looking at the descendant. If you have planets or things contacting your descendant, that's important to note. New moons and full moons in the 7th house are a great opportunity to engage in shadow work. Okay. For Leo rising, this will be a 6th house new moon for you. So work, health, daily routines, schedules, habits, diet, pets and employees if you have those. For Virgo, it's a 5th house new moon. So this relates to creativity and children. This relates to romance and true love. Not marriage, that's partnership. That's the 7th house. This has to do with things that we enjoy, things that bring us pleasure. Because Leo, of course, this is the 5th house. This is the heart. So pleasurable activities, sports, risk-taking, gambling, hobbies, creative endeavors, and that sort of thing. And then for Libra rising, this will be a 4th house new moon for you folks. Home, family, real estate, your living arrangements, your residence, later life, and your parents. Can be one or both. Oftentimes the 4th house relates to the mother, but from my experience, it can be specific to you depending on your own natal chart, and sometimes the charts of your parents will give you insight as to whether the 4th house, has to do with the mother or the father. For Scorpio, this will be a 3rd house new moon for you folks. So transportation, writing, communication, but things that are local to you. So travel, but short distance travel, right? Commerce is also a 3rd house activity. Siblings, neighbors, extended family like aunts, uncles, and cousins fall under the 3rd house, as does your immediate environment. And for Sagittarius rising, this will be a 2nd house new moon. So this, of course, relates to wealth, possessions, movable assets, earned income, money that comes to you from the work that you do with your own 2 hands, including things like family businesses. It can also speak to expenses that you may have, and it can also speak to your values and your self-esteem. Okay. For Capricorn, this will be a 1st house new moon for you. So it's your birthday new moon if you have Capricorn rising. Personality, identity, these are first house concerns. Self-expression, your behavior, your mannerisms, your physical body and your appearance, the role that you take on, how you show up in the world. This is first house, especially when we're talking about the ascendant. The ascendant specifically points to the emergence of non-physical you into physical reality. Okay, so it's where you come into the world in your meat suit. For Aquarius, this will be a 12th house new moon for you. So this relates, of course, to privacy and seclusion, spirituality, the unconscious mind. The 12th house rules highly personal or private projects, like solo projects, things that you're going to work on kind of outside of the public eye. Also has to do with spiritual practices, institutions of seclusion, so things like prisons or nursing homes or boarding schools. Those are ruled by the 12th house. And the 12th house also concerns itself with addiction and our escapist tendencies. Okay. And then finally, for those of you with Pisces rising, this will be an 11th house new moon. So that has to do with friends, social life, social activity, your involvement with organizations, clubs, associations, and specifically one of my favorite themes to work with, especially around a new moon, your hopes and dreams, your long-held hopes and dreams. Okay. That pretty well covers it for the rising signs and houses. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and throw those at me now. And then in the meantime, what we will do is transition on to talking about Capricorn archetype and Capricorn themes, and then we'll delve into some points I want you to consider as you decide what direction to head in with your intention setting this evening. And if you give me just one moment, I'm going to save. Where's my save button? I resized my browser and it disappeared. I made a change to my notes and I just want to save them real quick before I move on too far. All right, so diving in. Capricorn. What is Capricorn? Capricorn is cardinal earth. It's feminine, which we don't tend to really think about necessarily because we associate Saturn, the ruling planet, as kind of being masculine. But Capricorn is a feminine sign, symbolized by the constellation of the goatfish, right? So Capricorn, the goatfish, as a goat, can scale heights no other animal is capable of reaching, right? And so can we in our Capricorn house. But Capricorn, the goatfish, if you want to think of it as like a little seahorse, swims in the waters of creation. Okay? So this is a very kind of adaptable energy, not in the sense that it's mutable, because it's not, it's cardinal. But it's adaptable in the sense that our ambition can be about anything, and our drive to pursue and achieve that ambition can take us in a lot of different directions and through and over and around lots of different types of obstacles and limitations. And isn't that really what Saturn is about as the ruler of Capricorn? Obstacles and limitations, frustrations, and how we work with and through and around them. As a cardinal sign, Capricorn represents the entrepreneur. So this is where the creative energy comes into play. It's the doer, the builder, building from the ground up, especially foundations and underlying structures. Keeping in mind that the sign of Capricorn we give association with and Saturn rulership over the bones of the body, right? This is what gives our bodies the underlying structure that enables them to go about the business of doing. If we didn't have bones, you'd just be a fleshy sack of muscles and sinews and tendons and not really able to do much of anything with it, right? No matter how much your heart beats or how much your lungs breathe, you wouldn't be able to do much with it if you didn't have bones. But this is also the same sign and planet that we associate with the skin, which is the outer covering. It's what holds everything together. Okay? So, Capricorn is about the foundation that we're building on and the structure that we're hanging all of our efforts from. And we want to make sure as we move forward, especially when we're talking about launching things from a new moon or reinitiating from a new moon where we have Mercury retrograde, we want to especially concern ourselves with the stability of the foundation, the soundness of the foundation, and the stability and soundness of the underlying structure. Okay? So Capricorn representing the entrepreneur, the doer, the builder. This is the expression of the active cardinal principle through a focus on results, on outcomes. It's an expression of Capricorn's position as the final sign in the Earth series. Okay? So as Earth, Capricorn is grounded. Capricorn is steady. Capricorn is enduring and an expression of the principle of time. As feminine, Capricorn is both generative, right, the entrepreneur, and resilient, expressing the feminine principle of creativity through the sacred act of giving birth to manifest potential in the physical world. Usually after a long process of nurturing the development of something and putting sustained effort into it. Okay? As an archetype, Capricorn, the archetype, the builder, the achiever, the administrator, Capricorn here represents the wisdom that comes with experience and which accumulates in success and recognition, right? So Capricorn can also represent the old soul or the mentor. And as the natural ruler of the 10th house, it occupies the highest point in the natural chart, representing the culmination of all the efforts, all the sacrifices, all the lessons, all the experience, and all the wisdom accumulated on the journey through the first 9 houses. Thus, Capricorn is really about what comes after, and as such represents both rewards and consequences, accolades and punishments, fame and notoriety, reputation and status. Now, ruled by Saturn or Kronos, this invokes father time, right? Saturn is in his exaltation in Libra, donning the role of judge and pointing to where our responsibilities lie in our commitments, our long-term commitments, right? So Saturn points to our ambitions and where we're committed to seeing things through to the end. Okay. Now, keeping in mind, as I spoke about the astrology of this particular new moon, there's an energy of the breaking of commitments bound up in this new moon. So keep that in mind. Sometimes we enter into long-term commitments and then circumstances change, life changes, we change, the partner changes, whoever we've engaged in this commitment with. And sometimes as time passes, it becomes clear or necessary to end a commitment. And that's something to just kind of be cognizant of as you mentally chew on, just not too much, some of the things that we're going to be diving into tonight as we get into the prompts. Okay. But Capricorn specifically teaches us that when we steadfastly pursue our highest ambition with perseverance and self-discipline, we can tap into our full potential, reaching heights of achievement and earning recognition and accolades for our efforts. Okay. Capricorn teaches us that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Talent might be the foundation upon which to begin building, or a material to be woven into the structure of our success. But talent is not success itself. It's an ingredient in success. Okay? You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have self-discipline, if you don't have commitment, if you're not willing to work hard, how far is that talent going to get you really? And what's interesting about this topic is that it kind of reminds me of a presentation that I gave for a business mentorship program to a group on the notion of fixed mindset versus growth mindset, and how each of these mindsets perceives failure differently. And I would strongly encourage you to have a close look at where you might have, especially personal planets, in fixed signs, because that can be an indicator of how much you might lean towards fixed mindset versus growth mindset, which you are much more likely to encounter in a cardinal sign, or even potentially with personal planets in mutable signs, which are a little bit more adaptable to changing circumstances. Cardinal planets are more initiative, right? And initiative and adaptability are much more favorable to growth mindset potential versus fixed mindset potential. Fixed mindset internalizes failure and sees it as a reflection of their own worth and character. Okay? I failed, therefore I am a failure. These folks tend to give up in the face of failure. And that's not beneficial to you. Growth mindset, on the other hand, sees failure as the result of an experiment. If at first you don't succeed, try again, as the saying goes, right? So the growth mindset person sees a failed attempt as a teachable moment, learns what they can from the experience, and makes adjustments, and then keeps going. And that's what this new moon is asking you to do. Test, iterate, repeat, right? Teachable moments are what Saturn, Capricorn's ruler, is all about. Saturn, we call it the taskmaster planet for a reason, right? Saturn is about teaching you the lessons that you will carry with you for a lifetime. Okay? So, if at first you don't succeed, try again. But don't keep trying it the same old way. Do something differently. Okay? So, grab your pen and paper. I'm going to give you some things to chew on, and then I'm going to give you some prompts. Okay? So, I want you to think about, before you delve into your intention setting, and you can specifically focus your mind and your attention on the house that Capricorn occupies in your sidereal natal chart if you want. But what I want you to do is to ask yourself, what have you been doing in this house or area of life that is working for you? What is not working for you? And literally, you can write these down, and it might be a good idea if you do that, because then you'll have a better mental handle on them as you prepare to write out your intention. How has your life changed with time? And has that affected your desires, your dreams, and your ambitions? Has it affected your values? What do you continue to do that is clearly and repeatedly not working for you? Where are you creating obstacles for yourself? You don't need to do that. Saturn's going to do that for you enough already. Get out of your own way. Okay? In what ways are you arguing for your own limitations? clinging to the past, engaging in outdated traditions that don't honor your evolving self, your changing needs. Honor your changing needs. Honor your own evolution. How are you holding yourself back and getting in your own way? Now, normally, things like this. Oh, and here I have one final point. Where have you made a major mistake that is causing you regret right now in this moment, or is likely to cause you regret in the future? Typically, these are the kinds of things that I would encourage you to be taking into consideration for a full moon releasing, right? Because the theme with these questions, and I'll run through them again, is about what's holding you back? What do you need to move on from? What have you outgrown? What's not working for you anymore? Now, this is a new moon. We're not going to be releasing anything. But I want you to dig into these questions to get a good handle on where you need to make changes as you move into the intention setting, right? And we're going to do that as a function of Mercury being retrograde in Capricorn, okay? So let me run through these one more time. What have you been doing in this house or area of life that's working for you? What is not working for you? How has your life changed over time? And how have those changes affected your desires, your dreams, and your ambitions? How have those changes affected your values? What do you continue to do that is clearly and repeatedly not working? Where are you creating obstacles for yourself? In what ways are you arguing for your own limitations or clinging to the past, engaging in outdated traditions that don't honor your evolving self and your changing needs? How are you holding yourself back and getting in your own way? And then finally, where have you made a major mistake that's causing you regret right now or is likely to cause you regret in the future? And this might be a good time to mentally do that deathbed exercise. I found that exercise to be quite life-changing, and it wasn't anything I had ever encountered until my own father passed away. And when my father passed away, that really kind of shone an urgent and stark light on what I had done with my life, and seeing him at the end of his life, knowing that he had not spent it in the way that he had probably imagined for himself as a young man, really woke me up to the fact that when it's my turn on my deathbed, what am I going to regret? Whether regret having done or having not done. And the fact that when that time comes, no one gets to have those regrets for me, right? This is about not living your life according to other people's values. It's about not living your life according to what other people think you should be doing with your life. This is about being true to yourself, being authentic to yourself, and honoring your own life path and what you want and what you need, and about honoring the expression of your life energy. Because when you come to that moment, when you find yourself on your deathbed, the people who approve or disapprove of how you've spent your life don't get to experience those regrets for you. You're the one who has to do that. And so you may as well live the life of your choosing. Other people's values be damned. They're not living your life. Other people's judgments be damned. They're not living your life. Right? And where we have this new moon, this powerful new moon with 7 planets in Capricorn, and Capricorn having specifically to do with outcomes and consequences over the long term. Right? We talked about this in the last Sidereal Insights Astro update. It's about outcomes, But it's not about the long-term past. It's about the long-term future and the outcomes that you have yet to materialize. Whatever outcome you're experiencing now is about what you've been doing up to this moment. It's about all the investments that you've made and all the decisions that you've made. And if you're not happy, if it's not working for you, then now is the time to make changes for the long-term future. Instead of escalating commitment, instead of throwing good money after bad, right? If you want to put it in financial terms. Okay. Okay, so now, with your new perspective, these are the things I want you to consider as you write out what it is you're setting your tensions around for the coming new moon in Capricorn. What is your goal for this area of life? What is it that you most wish to achieve? Spend a few moments articulating that and try to get specific. Okay? What is the result that you want? What is your most desired outcome? What is your highest ambition? What do you want to be known for in this area of your life? Right? This is about reputation. It's about accolades and status in the public eye. What do you want to be known for? What achievement would you most like to be recognized for? What mark do you want to make on the world? And because we're talking about a sign ruled by Saturn, what fear do you need to overcome to make that happen? What do you need to do to face that fear? What is the next step in facing that fear? Or you can approach it from a different angle. What obstacles or limitations do you face in achieving that goal? And are you one of them? So if you've been after this goal for some time, if you've already invested a lot of time and energy and effort into it, what pattern of events or behaviors keeps you from achieving it? What do you think the universe might be guiding you to learn through this repeated lesson? Commit to learning that lesson right now. What is the next step you need to take to do that? If you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, I would encourage you to do this kind of a practice every year, specifically for your business. Ideally with the new moon in Capricorn, but if you have a natal chart and inception chart for your business, if you know exactly when you started your business or when you incorporated, if you have incorporated, then you could also do it in accordance with your business's inception chart and align it with that natal blueprint. That's fine. And you may want to give it some consideration ahead of time so that you're poised to actually take action with the most auspicious energy after the new moon has begun to light the sky. Okay? But what I want you to do tonight is to be thinking, pick one of these prompts, maybe two. Don't try to bite off all of them. But write out your intention. Get specific about your ideal outcome, your highest ambition, your big goal, and write a commitment-based affirmation around that goal that you're setting for yourself tonight. And share that affirmation in the comments, if you will. That would be wonderful. I'm going to recap these prompts, and then we will take a look at what it says in our moon gazing journal for tonight. And we'll get started writing our intentions. Okay, so with your new perspective, having kind of mentally examined what it is you thought you wanted and where you're at and how that's working for you and whether or not you need to make changes going forward, re-examine what is your goal in this area of life. Does it need tweaking, adjustments? Has it changed? Has it shifted? Are you satisfied? Are you dissatisfied? Do you want more of it? Or do you want something totally different? Because it's not too late to make a change if you want something totally different. What is it you wish most to achieve? What is the result that you want? What is your most desired outcome or highest ambition? What do you want to be known for? What achievement do you most want to be recognized for? What mark do you want to leave on the world? What fear do you need to overcome to be able to make those changes? What do you need to do to face that fear? What's your next step in doing that? Or what obstacles or limitations do you face in achieving that goal? Especially if you've been after it for some time. What patterns of events or behaviors keep cropping up that keeps you from achieving it? This can specifically speak to where do you self-sabotage? And what lesson is it you think the universe might be guiding you to learn through this repeated behavior or self-sabotage or this repeated pattern of events? And how can you commit to learning that lesson right now? What's the next step you need to take to do that? Okay. Ooh, this is fun. So today, in our moon gazing journal, it says, bathing a newborn in moon water is a blessing and baptism ritual. A tub of water is set under the full moonlight to let the energy of the moon rays penetrate the water, and then the baby is bathed. How do you want to baptize the baby of your highest ambition? Chew on that one. Everyone take a few minutes, and then we'll come back in the comments. All right. If anyone wants to share in the comments what you're setting your intentions around, what it is you're restarting, reinitiating, reigniting with the new moon in Capricorn. I'll share with you what I've written here. I haven't written an affirmation. I probably have one though. Some of you have been around for a while. You know my affirmation cards. I probably have one in here that would suit my purpose. So for me, I'm Gemini Rising, which means this is an 8th house new moon for me. I have Capricorn sun, and because it's such a powerful new moon, I'll probably also do this exercise again for my sun sign. Just to leverage such intense generative energy. But for 8th house, which is what I worked with in this intention setting, it's actually kind of interesting to see what all I came up with. I filled 2 full pages here of my moon gazing journal with my intention that I've set, and it's kind of right in alignment with where I've been. So that's kind of a nice thing to see. So here's what I wrote for my 8th house intention setting here. It is my intention to rebuild and restructure my long-term finances and my long-term financial picture with the shift of my life from married to newly independent. And anyone who's ever been through a divorce knows that that's a total restructuring of your financial picture in every way, right? And so that's really kind of what this opportunity presents for me. And it's quite timely, and I'm actually really excited about it now that I see what the opportunity is about. So I wrote, my highest desire is to build a legacy of wealth through smart, ethical, and socially conscious investing, through estate planning and the establishment of a revocable living trust, and to become debt-free, or in parentheses, debt strategic as it serves my goals, right? Because debt isn't necessarily always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a useful tool towards whatever your financial goals are, right? So I'm leaving room to tap into debt as a strategic maneuver towards my financial goals if it serves my purpose, right? And to do this, I will create a financial plan in accordance with my ethics, morals, and values, and will seek out the guidance and expertise of an experienced estate planner and a financial advisor. And as I lay the groundwork for building wealth, I will continue to reduce my debt obligations, which right now primarily tax obligations, and position myself to be a valuable asset and partner in the life of my future partner, whoever that may be. This groundwork will include continued deposits to my investment accounts, which I just recently established in the last couple of months, actually, just since the Great Conjunction, because that also took place in my 8th house. So this groundwork will include continued deposits to my investment accounts, the rebuilding of my retirement portfolios, and investing in the renovations necessary to create income property with my real estate investment. And the first step that I will take, right, because this is part of what we do with our intention setting, is we get specific about what that first step is going to be, and then provided that astrology is supportive, you take that first step at the first light of the new moon, right? So the first step I will take in pursuit of this ambitious goal is to listen to the wealth building podcast episodes, which have been recommended to me. I was just having a conversation with a good friend of mine about financial planning, retirement planning. I have a bit of a background in finance and investment. And so she had been asking me questions about trusts and estates and wills and probate and powers of attorney and how all of that stuff works. And kind of like, just brought these things back into my awareness as something that I really should be putting some time and effort and energy into focusing on. And with having gone through such a significant life change in the recent past, it's a timely thing to be considering. It's a timely thing to be taking action towards. And this is the type of approach that I would encourage all of you to take around this new moon, regardless of what house it falls into for you, right? This is about reassessing what have you been doing so far. Is it still appropriate for what you are wanting for your future or what you need for your future? Because life changes, things change, right? And that's clearly what happened to me. And it's definitely time for a brand new, fresh start. And this is a wonderful opportunity for me to do that financially and to get a good idea of like, well, what do I want? What do I want to be doing for myself? How will I build wealth? How will I protect my wealth? How will I pass it on? Who will I pass it on to? I have no heirs. I have no partner. What is that going to look like, right? So wherever you find Capricorn occupying your sidereal natal chart, be coming to it from this type of perspective. Having a good long look at what's working for you, what's not been working for you, and what changes do you need to make it work for you going forward in light of where you find yourself now, in light of what you want for yourself now, and in light of what future you envision for yourself. Okay? So this is really a profound opportunity to make a fresh start in that way towards whatever your highest ambition is, right? Think big on this one. Think big. Don't think small, and don't overthink. Don't trip yourself up with your thinking, right? This is one where it's really important, like we were saying earlier in the broadcast, don't leave your emotional self out in the cold. Because you can have the biggest dreams and the highest ambition in the world and you can achieve it. But if you don't factor your emotional self into that equation, how fulfilling and meaningful is it really going to be for you once you have it? And what's the point of having it if ultimately it's not meaningful and fulfilling in the end? Success can be a lonely thing. Reaching that high mountainous peak, like the sea goat, that no one else can reach. That can be a lonely, lonely thing. So don't leave yourself and your emotional needs and your emotional life, don't leave your heart out in the cold in pursuit of it. Okay? Few announcements for you all. Check out our new podcast at anchor.fm/Mystick Physick if you're the podcast inclined type. We've reformatted all the broadcasts to be podcast friendly. You can enjoy it on any major podcasting platform. I would invite you to please follow Mystick Physick on Facebook and Twitter. Be sure to like and share the broadcast once it's available to the public. And I invite you to subscribe to the Mystick Physick Astrology YouTube channel as well at youtube.com/Mystic Physick Astrology. And be sure to click on the notification bell so that you don't ever miss a broadcast. Also, remember, the 2021 Ultimate Astrological Planner is now available, and the checkout hiccups have been ironed out, at least temporarily, and the sale is extended through, I think it's noon, probably Mountain Standard Time, probably my time, noon my time tomorrow. So be sure to get your order in right away. mystickphysick.com/2021 is where you can go to check those out, including the new Lahiri format with the Indian holidays. I'm excited about that one. I made a custom planner for myself out of that with the Indian holidays, and I'm just really tickled. And actually, that brings an important point. If you would like a custom personalized planner with your own transits to your own natal chart and your own best days of the year for love, luck, business, and Mercury Retrograde, you can order that too. Just order the personalized Ultimate Astrological Planner. Be sure to include your birth information, date, time, and place of birth in checkout, and I will custom create a planner with your own personal transits for you for the coming year. And don't forget, you can now support the broadcast on Patreon at patreon.com/Mystick Physick for as little as $3.33 a month, and get exclusive access to some fun bonus content and early access to all the broadcasts. You can also join me live. And I want to thank you all for watching and being here with me, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.